Please Please the Bees by Gerald Kelly. Benedict was a creature of habit. He liked to do the same thing every day. Every morning he woke up at the same time. Every morning he stretched, he scratched, and he yawned a great yawn. Every morning the bees delivered 3 jars full of honey. Benedict ate the same breakfast he'd eaten since he was just a fuzzy cub: toast with honey and tea with extra honey. Next came his daily routine: practicing, perfecting his honey cake recipe, knitting, and running errands. At night, he'd read, then have one last cup of honey tea before bed. Life was sweet. Until one morning, things weren't the same. In fact, something terribly unsane had happened. There was no more honey. The bees had gone on strike. Benedict's breakfast wasn't the same without honey. Without his honey tea, he couldn't knit. Practice was dreadful. He didn't even bother with the errands. Benedict became deeply discouraged. Just then he heard someone say, "Hey, you, in the fur coat." It was a very small bee with a remarkably loud voice. "We need to talk," said the bee. "Talk? Huh," grumbled Benedict. "I let you all live in my yard. All I ask is for a few jars of honey. You should be grateful, not go on strike." "A few jars of honey?" said the bee. "Buddy, we deliver 3 jars of honey to you every day, every month, every year. Do the math, Einstein." "The hive is a wreck," the bee continued. "It's all we can do to keep the walls from falling in. The roof leaks, wind blows through the cracks. The last 3 queens up and quit on us because of the lousy working conditions." The bee showed Benedict the garden. "Look," the bee said, "weeds everywhere. We have to fly miles away just to find enough flowers to make our honey. So we voted to strike." "You're taking us for granted," the bee declared. "You want honey? Things need to change. It's up to you, bear." And with that, the very small bee flew off. The thought of losing his honey sent a chill down Benedict's spine. He had a lot to think about. "Maybe I've been too selfish," Benedict said to himself. "I never thought about what the bees need. But how am I going to make this right?" So he did some research. He did a little shopping. And he did a lot of work. Benedict even learned how to harvest honey. "I suppose it's a bit rude to expect them to do it all themselves," he thought. Finally, he was ready to show the bees all the work he'd done. What would they think? He held his breath as he waited. Then he heard the remarkably loud voice of the very small bee. "Drop the sign, girls. Time to get back to work." These days, Benedict is still a creature of habit. He still has his daily routine, but he doesn't take the honey for granted anymore. He knows his life is sweet, but now it's even sweeter for everyone. The end. Swarm of Bees by Lemony Snicket, art by Rilla Alexander. Swarm of bees, swarm of bees. Oh no, you are so angry. What will you do? Swarm of bees, swarm of bees. Will you sting the sailor? No, he's been on a ship for 9 months and is hurrying to hug his mother. Swarm of bees, will you sting the mother? No, she's about to tell the bricklayer all about her new hairdo. Swarm of bees, will you sting the bricklayer? No, he's starting a new part of the wall. He is feeling very busy and very hungry. Swarm of bees, you are still feeling angry, but you can't sting anyone at the food truck. The chefs are chopping onions as quick as they can, and the customers are deciding what to drink with their lunches. You can't sting the cat. The cat is trying very carefully to hide in the grass. And cat, you can't pounce on the bird. It has a worm in its mouth. Swarm of bees, you can't sting the man in the second floor apartment watching television. His window is shut anyway because his neighbors are making so much noise. And you can't sting the neighbors. They are playing card games on the balcony and the little cousin is about to win. You are still angry, but you can't sting the little cousin. She already hurt herself today when she stubbed her toe, and that's why she's wearing that bandage. Swarm of bees, are you going to sting the boy? He keeps throwing tomatoes. He threw one at the little cousin and stained her bandage. He threw one at the neighbor's window and made a mess. He threw 2 tomatoes at the cat and 3 tomatoes at the bird, who dropped the worm into a tomato on the ground. The boy threw a bunch of tomatoes at the food truck. He shouldn't do that. He threw tomatoes at the bricklayer, and he threw tomatoes at the mother's hairdo. And look, swarm of bees. He threw a tomato at the sailor, and the sailor is chasing him. Where did they go, swarm of bees? Where is everybody? In the backyard? Watch out for the laundry. In the alley? Watch out for the tow truck. Around the corner? Watch out for the beekeeper. Beekeeper? Swarm of bees. Well, now you're in a sack. It's warm and cozy in there. You calm down, and soon you'll be going home. It can feel good to be angry. It can feel better to stop. And now, it's time to clean up all the tomatoes. The end.